My colleague Akshay Dongre is now joining me on the story. Akshay, the Prime Minister very clearly visiting all those places which have a India connect. This war memorial has names of more than 4,000 Indian soldiers.
And it's required, Aishwarya, as far as Prime Minister's visit is concerned. We have seen this past trend that whenever the Prime Minister is abroad, whenever he goes to any country, be it Europe, be it America, be it other parts of the world, he always makes sure about doing one thing, and that is meeting the Indian diaspora in those countries where he goes. So that signifies one thing, that how strong the people-to-people connect is, how strong the Indian diaspora is present in that particular country. And this, as far as Egypt is concerned, then it becomes extremely important for the Indian Prime Minister to remind the world the sacrifices that even the Indian soldiers have made as far as World War I and World War II are concerned. And this is perhaps one of the sites where the largest number of Indian soldiers were arrested. These are the graves of those Indian soldiers, as you said, the unsung heroes as far as the history is concerned. Because if you look at the history of World War II, World War I, then usually the European countries, America, and some other countries of Eurasia are counted, but never the contributions of the countries of Global South. And this is also perhaps one of the ways of the Prime Minister to reminding the world as he campaigns for the rights of the Global South, that this has been the contribution of Indian soldiers as well as far as those wars are concerned. And today, if the world speaks about democracy and speaks about all of the ideals of a democratic world, democratic society, then it needs to be reminded that even Indian soldiers have laid down their lives to keeping, or rather upholding these values, these ethics of the democratic society. So that is one point. Another point is to remind the people of Egypt, or rather the government and the dispensation of Egypt about these kind of sacrifices that the Indians have made. In fact, Indian-Egyptian relations have always been very strong. One of the most important leaders of the Egyptian history, Abdel Gamal al-Nasser, he was a very good friend of the first Prime Minister of India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. There has been a history of people coming to each other's nations and getting education, getting jobs, getting business and trade. When in fact we have been talking that how India is the 5th largest trade partner of Egypt. It makes India extremely important as far as the Egyptian government is concerned. This year on 26th of January, it was the Egyptian president who was the chief guest. President Sisi was in New Delhi. He also witnessed the 26th January Republic Day parade. So the ties are already very strong. But in that part of the world, when we talk about Middle East, when we talk about North Africa, India has a lot of allies, but it is a very, very crucial part of the world. And that is why not just India, but China, US, all the great powers of the world have been trying to strengthen relations with these nations of the Middle East, of North Africa, given the importance, the geostrategic importance it has being in the middle of Asia, Europe, and Americas. So that is why it makes it extremely important as far as its geopolitical positioning is concerned, and the kind of friendship that we are seeing evolving in Egypt and India's relations. It is going to be extremely beneficial for both of the countries. Aishwarya?
You are speaking about these ties, the strengthening of these ties. Obviously, we have seen, the kind of reception that the Prime Minister got both at the United States and also in Egypt. Obviously, Prime Minister has been visiting all those places which have a very, very deep Indian connect. Now, this war memorial, Akshay, that the Prime Minister visited has names of more than 4,000 fallen soldiers, unsung heroes who fought, Indians who fought in various places in Egypt and also in Palestine.
The Indian soldiers were
Akshay, stay on with me. Shaira is also joining me from Cairo in Egypt. Shaira, a very important visit by the Prime Minister. Names of those unsung heroes, fallen heroes, Indian soldiers who fought during the World War I, who fought in various areas in Egypt and Palestine have been written here. The Prime Minister also, in the visuals we can see signing the visitor's book.
It's the last stop of his 2-day visit. And I think the choice, I mean, the fact that he goes there to pay his respect, to pay tribute to these fallen soldiers, I think that's, you know, it shows how compassionate and, you know, what kind of human being he is, really. That after all these years, yeah, they haven't been forgotten.
Yes, you know, giving out a signal that these fallen heroes have not been forgotten. In fact, you know, this memorial too, Shaira, has a very interesting history, was destroyed and then remade in the year 1980.
Exactly, and it's a war cemetery basically, and it's in the northern district of Heliopolis, on the outskirts of Cairo, and it, you know, it hasn't been visited for a very long time by any state dignitary. So I think this is a first.
A first by, you know, an Indian Prime Minister, Shahira, that's what you are saying. And, you know, in the visuals here, we can see Prime Minister, you know, writing down, you know, his comments on the book there and also paying his tribute. So this Shahira memorial was destroyed during the Israeli-Egyptian war in the year 1967, you know, by the Egyptian soldiers who were at that moment going back a new memorial bearing the names of the Indian soldiers who died in the World War I campaign in Egypt and Palestine, erected here at the Grave Cemetery in the year 1980. Prime Minister, you know, also paying visit to those people because this is a place which has a very strong India connect.
Exactly, and you know, the fact that the Prime Minister visits, I think he sort of reminded us all of what happened then and of the fact that these soldiers fought to defend Egypt against Ottoman forces. You know, Egypt and India are far apart, they're continents apart, but the Indian soldiers came and fought for Egyptians.
Shaira, we have seen, you know, the past 24 hours, the Prime Minister visiting, you know, making sure that he goes and visits very important places. Also the kind of warm welcome that the Prime Minister got, you know, he also spoke with the eminent members of the Bora community there in Egypt. And now also, you know, over the past few hours, we will see him meeting a lot of CEOs, a lot of MOUs also have been signed between India and Egypt. So overall, 48 hours, you know, will be very crucial for the ties of Egypt and India going forward.
Exactly, and not just Indian businessmen, investors, the Bora community, but also Egyptian intellectuals, Egyptian religious figures, Egyptian cabinet ministers, senior dignitaries. So I really, you know, it was 48 hours that were fully packed. So I think Prime Minister Modi, I mean, because he had stayed away so long and he wanted to catch up, I suppose, and do everything at once. But everybody was delighted to meet him, and he's very, you know, the way the Indians speak about him and the way, the exhilaration they felt yesterday at seeing him says a lot about what kind of a person he is.
Thank you, Shaira. Shaira Amin joining us from Cairo in Egypt. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the Heliopolis War Grave Cemetery. The visuals on your screens there.